Throughout your whole life, at least once you might have heard this advice or somebody saying to you that if you want to be successful, you should read books. You should have a habit of reading. If you don't have one, then develop it. So in these videos, I am going to talk about the habits that have changed my life in some way. And yes, one of the biggest reasons why I was about to bring this change is my habit of reading. So reading as a habit has facilitated many other changes in my life. That is why I thought, let me first start by talking about reading. How do you select books? And then I'm also going to talk about how can you build the habit of reading if you don't have one. Well, is it compulsory to have a habit of reading? Let's explore throughout the video. In today's video, I'm also going to talk about a book that I have just finished reading, and I have just taken 2 days to complete the whole book. If I had a long period of time in just one day, within 24 hours for sure, I would have finished reading all the stories from that book. Yes, it is a storybook, and it is from my very loved author, Sudha Murthy. The book's name is Here, Then and Everywhere. The stories are the collection of those stories which are very much loved by the readers of Sudha Murthy. So people who might have read her books already know that she has a very beautiful writing style. The most appreciated quality in her by me and many other people is her simplicity. And simplicity is so rare to find, especially in books and writing. There are many books with such a complicated language written in such a complex manner which is very difficult for normal people to understand. People who have a background of literature, people who have been reading from a very long time can understand those books. But this book is so simple that any beginner can just pick up this book, and there are stories. It's a collection of I think 21 to 22 stories, and you can finish those stories in just few pages. So once you pick up, you get the whole picture of a story. You get Sudha Murthy's imagination reality mix, what opinion she has about the incident, and what lessons can you take from it. So in one short period of time, you get so much of knowledge and perspective from just one reading, and I love the way it has been written and compiled in a manner that this one book serves a whole package for somebody who finds treat to read books. Let's explore this book a little bit before we go ahead, as this you can use this as a mini review for the book. This book has stories. They are not just from Sudha Murthy's life, but also with the people she has worked with, she has dealt with. So it's an overall compilation of different kinds of perspective. She has talked about people from different kinds of background. So if you're somebody who is very much interested in people, their behavior, and how they just weave into a beautiful story. So if you're a storyteller or you like to tell stories, listen to stories, this is definitely a book you should go ahead and read. And I'm going to talk about my favorite story from the book, and also one of the stories that I want to make a commentary on. So the story that I liked the most was 3000 Stitches. It talks about Sudha Murthy's first big project she took up, the reformation she brought in the life of women. You can read the whole story. I'm not going to give any spoilers. What is the reform? How was it done? You can learn about it. And the women gifted her a bedspread which was handmade by 3000 stitches by all those women. So she talks about that reformation project and her experience through social work. Just after this, there is a story she writes or an incident she describes. She gives a perspective on philanthropy or social work. It is a very weird misconception people have about social work, is that social work is done by those people, one thing, by them who do not have anything else to do, or by them who just want to show a good face to the society, or by them who are not capable of doing something. But social work takes immense amount of dedication and management. So she changes the perspective of society towards extending your service. It is not just an NGO that does a social work or a group of people that do social work. We can offer a service and kindness on an individual basis too. So in that story, she writes about how an auto rickshaw driver does a social work, how a doctor does his social work. So if we have it within us to extend our service to somebody and to be kind towards someone, then we will do it naturally as a part of a day. So philanthropy becomes the attitude of your life. It becomes an attitude of living your life. So that is why she very nicely puts something, and she tells how she deals with the insensitive comments that people pass on social workers. She says, I have become insensitive to unhelpful comments and more sensitive to the cause. So if you have clearly understood the cause of your work, why are you doing something? So the insensitive comments passed by people who are ignorant or do not have knowledge regarding what you're doing, they don't matter to you that much. And this is something I could totally resonate with. When you're doing certain kind of social work, you have to leave your individuality or your own style at home and then go towards people, understand what is their way of living, what is their behavior of living, because you don't deal with one category of people when you're doing social work. So you have to become like them in order to empathize with them, in order for them to be feeling safe with you. So it takes a lot of compassion and dedication. So philanthropy is not for the weak-hearted. That's what I want to make a commentary on after reading that thing. And you somewhere have to raise above your individual self. You have to find a cause bigger than yourself. That is the only time when you will be able to serve somebody, giving them that respect and giving them that wholeheartedness in your service. So this was a beautiful book that I read. So is developing the habit of reading compulsory? In my opinion, no habit is compulsory to anybody. It's completely your choice. And if you don't like something, then I'm not the kind of person who says force something on yourself just because it will give you XYZ results. Instead, what I suggest is just go ahead and experiment. And when you experiment, don't go and pick up the next bestseller, okay? This has happened to me many times that I went ahead and got the trending books or some bestsellers and I didn't really enjoy the book that much. So what is the main thing that you have to know if you're just starting to read is that you should read as per your interest. If you're interested in something, just go and pick up, no matter what your age is, no matter what kind of studies you have done, because reading is just like a hobby, okay? So you have to do something that will interest you more. So I remember even in my school days when I was in secondary school, I used to still go in the kids section of the library and get some storybooks and read because they had really interesting stories, right? So even if you like kids book, you can go and pick up. So it's more about your interest than anything. So why am I specifying so much on the interest part is that there is a scientific logic behind it. I was reading the book Atomic Habits and I have also observed this thing that when there is a feel-good factor, we are more consistent towards doing that thing. So for example, in that book, the author gave an example that if you're all worked up and you come home from your office and you're stressed, so you lay back and play a video game, you feel good. So now what connections are being made in your brain that video game makes you feel good? Which is not really true. You did something that relaxed you for a certain time. So if you do it again and again, your connection will become more and more strong that doing this thing makes me feel relaxed. You might be seeing people saying that cooking makes me feel relaxed. Somebody says reading makes me feel relaxed. So anything that is giving you the feel good factor, try to include the feel good factor in the habit that you're trying to generate. So if you have the feel good factor and the environment, you are more likely to sustain that habit instead of just forcing something on yourself, because what you will do in one go, you might just finish off the book, but will you really enjoy reading? That's the question. So in order to form a habit, I think, at least for me, what has worked up is to find enjoyment in that thing. And how do I find enjoyment? Well, it will be not given ready-made to me. I will have to make it enjoyable. So whatever habit I want to develop, I will get something that interests me inside it. I will create the environment accordingly. For example, if you see, I have books in my background. I have books here on my table. So if I am tired and worked up, I will go and pick up a book. So I have kept it in my vision space. So you see, it's your environment and your way of making things interesting that actually makes something interesting. So see you in the next video.